World War II ended over 80 years ago, but some of its weapons never left the battlefield. They were designed for a different era, when battles were fought in trenches, jungles, and bombed out cities. But somehow, they're still here. Still firing, still deadly. These guns weren't supposed to last this long. Most were mass-produced, rushed into war, and expected to be replaced. But war has a way of keeping things alive that should be long gone. You'll find them in the hands of rebels, militias, even official armies. From the mountains of Afghanistan to the streets of Syria, these World War II weapons are still being used in real combat today. And the reasons are simple. They're tough, reliable, and they get the job done. This isn't just a look back at history. This is a list of guns that never retired. 12 World War II firearms that are still in the fight. Let's kick things off with the Karabiner 98K. Germany's main service rifle during World War II and one of the most recognizable bolt-action rifles in history. Built tough and designed for precision, the K98K was the go-to weapon for the German infantry. It wasn't flashy, but it was deadly accurate and could take a beating in the mud, snow, and chaos of war. After World War II, it didn't just disappear. The rifle spread across the globe, showing up in the hands of militias, insurgents, and even national armies. It saw action in the Yugoslav wars, and versions of it have been spotted in modern conflicts in Iraq and Syria. Today, the Bundeswehr still uses it ceremonially. Why does it endure? Simple. It's reliable, easy to maintain, and built like a tank. For a rifle designed in the 1930s, it aged better than most of us. Next up is a rifle that practically defines the phrase, built like a brick. The Mosin Nagant. This Soviet bolt-action rifle was the go-to for Red Army snipers and infantry during World War II. It kicked up snow, mud, and Nazis, and just kept going. Over 37 million were made, which basically guarantees that if you dig in Eastern Europe long enough, you'll eventually hit one. And they're not just museum pieces. Militias and hunters across Eastern Europe and parts of Africa still use them today. Even in the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian War, the Mosin has made appearances, because when you need a rugged, accurate, and dirt cheap rifle, it's hard to beat. It's heavy, kicks like a mule, and it's not gonna win any design awards. But the thing works, and in rough conditions, that's all that matters. You don't retire a Mosin, you hand it down. Now let's talk about the PPSH-41, also known as the buzzsaw of the Eastern Front. The Soviet submachine gun wasn't just loud, it sang in full auto. During World War II, Soviet infantry loved it for its ridiculous rate of fire and massive 71-round drum magazine. It basically turned every soldier into a one-man marching band, with bullets. And guess what? The PPSH-41 is still marching. North Korea keeps it in active service like it's a family heirloom, probably because it's cheap, easy to use, and honestly, still terrifying. It's also shown up in modern conflicts like the Syrian Civil War and the Russo-Ukrainian War. Why? Because when you're on a budget and want to spray and pray, this old Soviet classic gets the job done. It may be shaped like a plumbing pipe with a drum attached, but trust us, nobody's laughing when it starts talking. Now from Soviet spray and pray to good old American ping, let's talk about the M1 Garand. This was the US military's pride and joy during World War II. A semi-automatic rifle that made bolt actions look like they were stuck in traffic. Troops loved it. General Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. And every shot ended with that iconic little ping, kind of like a victory bell, or a warning that you're out of ammo. These days, it's mostly used in ceremonial drill teams because nothing says discipline like twirling a 10-pound chunk of American history. But it didn't require quietly. M1s have turned up in the hands of insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan, because if you find one in working condition, it still packs a punch. It's old, it's loud, and yes, it pings, but it's earned the right to make some noise. And if the M1 Garand was America's right hook in World War II, then the M1911 pistol was the knockout punch in the other hand. This semi-automatic sidearm was the standard issue for US forces, and it came with attitude, chambered in .45 ACP. It didn't just stop enemies, it politely insisted they sit down. Over a century later, it's still not ready to hang up its holster. Some military units and law enforcement agencies around the world still carry it, and civilian shooters, they love it like grandpa's old muscle car. Sure, it's not the newest, but it's loud, powerful, and built like a brick. The M1911 is proof that if it ain't broke, and it can still blow a hole in a watermelon at 20 yards, you don't fix it. In pistol years, it's ancient, but it still hits like it's got something to prove. Now, if the M1911 was the punch, and the Garand was the battle cry, the MG42 was pure chaos with the trigger. Nicknamed Hitler's buzzsaw in World War II, this machine gun didn't just fire bullets, it ripped them out at a terrifying pace. German troops used it as their primary machine gun, and Allied soldiers feared it like it was a thunderstorm made of lead. But here's the twist, it never really went away. Instead, it evolved. The MG42 got a modern makeover and became the MG3, and today, it's still rocking out on battlefields across the globe. Over 40 countries use it, and the German Bundeswehr still relies on it too. Fast, furious, and frighteningly reliable. This gun proves that sometimes a little redesign is all it takes to keep an old beast in the game. The buzzsaw never really stops spinning. And from Germany's buzzsaw, we head over to Britain's trusty tea-sipping sharpshooter, the Lee Enfield. This bolt-action rifle was the backbone of the British Empire in both World Wars, and it's got the stiff upper lip to prove it. Smooth action, solid accuracy, and a 10-round magazine. Basically the James Bond of old rifles. Classy, reliable, and always ready for action. And believe it or not, it's still seeing action today. You'll find it in the hands of insurgents, tribal fighters, and security forces in regions like the Middle East and South Asia. Because when you need a rifle that can survive mud, sand, and probably a bad cup of tea, it delivers. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it's got staying power. Like that one uncle who's still running marathons at 70. The Lee Enfield isn't just hanging around for nostalgia, it's still in the fight. And speaking of British ingenuity, let's talk about the Sten gun, a weapon so simple, it makes IKEA furniture look complicated. During World War II, the British needed a cheap, easy-to-make submachine gun fast. The result? The Sten. It looked like it was built out of leftover plumbing parts, and honestly, it kinda was. But it worked. It was compact, lightweight, and easy enough to build in a garage, which is exactly what resistance fighters across Europe did. And somehow, it's still popping up today, usually with insurgent groups in low-budget conflict zones, where simple and deadly is the whole shopping list. Sure, it's not the most glamorous gun, and its design screams built during a lunch break, but that's the magic of the Sten. It's the duct tape of submachine guns. Ugly, underrated, and surprisingly effective when everything else falls apart. Now, if the Sten was the scrappy garage project, the Thompson was the gangster with a military contract. Originally famous for its roaring 1920s mobster days, the Thompson submachine gun cleaned up its act just in time for World War II, swapping pinstripes for army green. US troops and their allies loved it for its solid build and serious firepower. It was heavy, sure, but when it fired, people usually ducked. Fast forward to today, and the Tommy gun still refuses to fade into history. You'll occasionally find it in the hands of police forces and militias, who appreciate its durability and probably its cool factor too. It's like that vintage car that still outruns modern sedans. It's loud, it's proud, and if it had a voice, it'd say, "I was built to last, sweetheart." The Thompson didn't just survive the war, it kept its swagger. And now, let's talk about the big guy, the M2 Browning 50 caliber machine gun, or as some folks like to call it, Ma Deuce. This beast was the US military's go-to heavy hitter in World War II, and honestly, not much has changed. It could take out aircraft, vehicles, and just about anything unlucky enough to be in its way. If the Thompson was swagger, the M2 was pure authority. Fast forward to today, and Ma Deuce is still going strong. Mounted on Humvees, helicopters, and boats across dozens of militaries. It's one of the few World War II weapons that's not just still used, but still standard issue. Why? Because nothing else quite does what it does. It's like trying to replace a bulldozer with a lawnmower. Loud, massive, and completely unapologetic. The M2 isn't a relic, it's a legend that never left the battlefield. Now, let's shift gears to a gun that brought some class to the machine gun world, the Bren. This British light machine gun was the standard issue for the Commonwealth during World War II, and it looked as refined as it was reliable. That top-mounted magazine, stylish and practical. The Bren didn't just spray bullets, it delivered them with manners and precision. And while it may have been born in the 1930s, it's still clocking in for duty in parts of Asia and Africa today. From counterinsurgency forces to rural militias, the Bren remains a dependable choice where rugged reliability still matters more than bells and whistles. It's accurate, it's durable, and it runs like it still has something to prove. The Bren might not be the flashiest name in the lineup, but when it comes to sticking around and getting the job done, it's still very much on target. And finally, we round things out with the Type 99 Arisaka rifle, a tough-as-nails bolt-action rifle from Imperial Japan. During World War II, this was the standard issue for Japanese infantry. It was chambered in 7.7 by 58 mm and came with some wild features for its time, like a monopod, an anti-aircraft sight, yes, really, and even a dust cover that rattled like a shopping cart. But underneath all that, the Arisaka was solid, built to take a beating and still fire straight. Fast forward a few decades, and this rifle still pops up occasionally in conflict zones in remote areas, especially in parts of Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. It's rare, but when you do see it, it's usually in the hands of someone who values rugged simplicity over modern flash. The Type 99 might have been Japan's last hurrah in World War II, but it proves that even old warriors can stick around, quiet, durable, and still dangerous. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.